Friends, we have a problem. Here's the problem. If you consider yourself a Christian, you know what we do. As Christians, we regularly gather as a church because we share something in common. We have a common interest. The problem is, most of us don't feel comfortable talking about that common interest. What's our common interest? It's Jesus. Let me explain. If you're a follower of Jesus, I'm guessing you probably have a plaque or two on your walls at home with Bible verses on them. Or maybe on your arm you have a cross tattoo. Or at the least, you pray at holiday meals. Maybe when a friend sneezes, you say, "God bless you." Maybe you wore a WWJD bracelet. Or you recently watched the movie Jesus Revolution and you loved it. But if you're honest, when it comes to actually talking about the life of Jesus, if you are like most Christians, talking about what's in the Bible, the life of Jesus, it makes us a little squirmish. The thought of going to a Bible study, it's terrifying because you just feel ill-equipped. In fact, for many of us, talking about the Bible and the life of Jesus feels like that first time you stood at the edge of the deep pool. Do you remember that? The deep end? Scared to jump into the swimming pool because you knew you'd be in over your head. So today, here's what I want to do. I want to invite you to join me on a journey through Jesus' life as it's found in the book of Mark. Because following Jesus, but not feeling comfortable talking about Jesus, it's like going to a professional baseball game and you buy your peanuts, your Cracker Jacks, they announce all the players, but the players never actually play baseball. It's sort of like skiing without a boat. Friends, today we're beginning a walk through the book of Mark. Now you might ask, why the book of Mark? Well, first, the book of Mark is short. And here's what I know. You are busy. The book of Mark is just 16 chapters long. Secondly, it's the closest thing we have to a first-hand account of the life of Jesus. Get this, the author of the book of Mark got his facts about Jesus' life from actual eyewitnesses to Jesus' life and ministry. The final reason we're going to get the story of Jesus from Mark's perspective is that Mark is fast-paced. Get this, the word immediately appears some 40 times in this short book. Mark's telling of Jesus' life is sort of like a high-speed chase, only instead of chasing down a bad guy, we're in pursuit of the ultimate good guy. For example, today we're taking a look at the first 13 verses of the book of Mark. In those 13 short verses, Mark packs a ton of action. We're first introduced to John the Baptist, who some suggest John was Jesus' cousin. But their relationship went so much deeper than that. John prepared the world for Jesus. This wild man dressed in camel's hair, he was eating locust and honey. He proclaimed in verse 7, "After me will come one more powerful than I, the thongs of whose sandal I am not even worthy to stoop down and untie." John got people ready for Jesus to enter this world. And just like that, Jesus is on the scene. He's a full-grown adult, ready for ministry. There's no birth story, no little town of Bethlehem, no manger, no star, no wise men or shepherd. Mark just gets to the action of Jesus' life. John baptizes Jesus in the Jordan. He's commissioned to do God's work in the world. And then it says in verse 12, immediately. Say that with me. Immediately, the Spirit sent him out into the desert, and he was in the desert for 40 days being tempted. Now, in Mark's telling of the story of Jesus' life, from the very beginning, Jesus is off to the races. It's one thing after another. Honestly, Jesus' pace in Mark rivals the cinematography of a Marvel action movie. In the other Gospels, you get Jesus' birth story and all these long sermons he gives, but Mark skips all that. As you read, you're going to find that Jesus is constantly doing things. He's performing miracles. He's preaching. He's traveling. He's serving. He's building friendships. Mark's telling of Jesus' life is all about action. So before we get too far, I want to pause and wonder why. Why does Mark's telling of the story of Jesus just move so fast? Well, to answer that, we have to talk about context. Mark's context matters. I want you to imagine that Mark is sitting down some 2,000 years ago, and he's writing the story of Jesus' life with a particular audience in mind. You see, Mark wrote his gospel with a Roman audience in mind. The Romans of his day were sort of men of power. They built the most advanced empire the world had ever seen, with the strongest military the world had ever seen. In the Colosseum in Rome, remember? Roman gladiators, they'd fight tigers, bears, and rhinos. These are the people Mark is trying to appeal to. So consequently, Mark portrayed Christ as a tireless, action-oriented, sort of superhero character who is always on the go. What's unique, though, for Mark is that what made Jesus exceptional was the strength of his tireless serving, what he sacrificed for others. Mark 10, verse 45 reads, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." So it's fitting that Mark's Jesus begins his ministry by immediately being sent out into the wilderness on a bit of a challenge. He's driven out into the wilderness with nothing and is tempted, it says, for 40 days. It even says in verse 13, he was there with the wild animals. So as we close today, here are a couple of questions for you to ponder. The first question goes like this. Have you ever experienced wilderness seasons in your life? Seasons where you felt like you were surrounded by the wild animals of doubt or insecurity, anxiousness, temptation, or maybe even just confusion. And my second question for you is this. What happened to your faith in those wilderness seasons? Did it suffer? Did it eventually maybe become even stronger after you survived the wilderness?